Welcome back to Funding the Enterprise. I am Senor Chavez. Let's talk today about valuation. Let's talk today about making sure that you understand the difference between a pre-money and a post-money valuation. All right, so we need to make sure that we understand the difference when we're talking about valuation. We need to understand the difference between pre-money and post-money valuation. Pre-money and post-money valuation. So here's my question to you. You have, as the chief financial officer, you have an investor. We're going to call her your Aunt Hilda. Your Aunt Hilda is interested in investing into your enterprise, and you are the CFO. And so you have a valuation hypothetically on your company of $10,000. And Aunt Hilda wants to invest $1,000. Here's my question to you. How much is she going to get in terms of a percentage for her $1,000 investment? Is it A, 9%, B, 10%, or C, 11%? You have told her that your valuation is $10,000. She wants to invest $1,000. If you said $10,000, if you said B, you're absolutely 100% incorrect. Incorrect. You told her was the pre-money valuation. So let's take a look at the math. You have a $10,000 valuation, and we're not even talking about the subjectivity of it at this point. And Aunt Hilda wants to invest $1,000. So guess what? You have a post-money valuation now of $11,000. What percentage is $1,000 of the $11,000? That is 9%. Not you are giving away equity. You just gave away 1% of your company for free. If you said B, if you said 10%, you have to take the valuation, even if there's no money in the bank whatsoever, you have to take the valuation that you have given Aunt Hilda, and everyone has an Aunt Hilda, I'm sure, and add that to the money that she is actually injecting, any investor, to give you a total post-money valuation, and then at that point you are taking 1,000 divided by 11,000 is going to give you, go ahead and do the math, is going to give you 9%. 9%. This is how it's done. This is how you slice the pie. You don't want to give up any more equity than you actually need. So let's take an example. What if way back in the day you had the opportunity to invest $1,000 into Microsoft? And let me tell you, Bill Gates was looking for any kind of money. $1,000 would have been absolutely beyond his wildest dreams, believe it or not. He was looking for a $1,000 investment, and imagine that he had a valuation on his company of $10,000, and he gave you 10% unknowingly. Wow, what would that extra 1% be worth today? Probably close to $1 billion, and I'm not kidding. That is probably the real 1% of Microsoft has got to be more than 1%. That is absolutely Phenomenal. And this happens every day. This mistake is made every single day. Think of how much you would be giving up if several investors actually invested. Let's take a look at how the expandable pie works. So here we go. And I want you to be aware of something. I want you to be aware that this pie represents 100% of the equity that you have in your company. And I want you, and we'll talk about this in the next session, but I want you to make sure that you understand that this part here, this 25%, this is how I would ideally like you, when you form your corporation, ideally, this is the way I'd like you to look at it. I'd like you to take 75%, and this be the founder's stock. This is the founder's equity. Okay, this is the founder's equity. Over here, this 25%, we call this treasury stock. Treasury stock. And this is stock that you have available to either give to number one, investors, venture capitalists, or angels like your Aunt Hilda, or number two, employees, potential employees. You have a very limited amount of cash. You have a very limited amount of money to pay payroll. And so what is it that you're going to want to give people in order to join your organization? It's going to have to be equity. It's going to have to be a percentage. And I want you to make sure that when you have this particular pie sliced the way it is, that you make sure that you have, and you can change this number, that you have carte blanche. You have the ability to change this to 20%, 10%, 30%. But what's important is that you think ahead and that you carve out a percentage of equity and you call it treasury stock that you're going to be able to sell to investors like your Aunt Hilda, or give to potential employees that are going to increase the value of your company. Thus, the expandable pie. The pie begins to grow, and the valuation of your entity expands and grows. This is how real wealth is created. This is how it's done in the real world. But you have to think ahead. You have to make sure that you think ahead. So this is where we're at. Now let's take a look. Let's take a look at our pie yet again. And let's do a real world example of an investment. So you have a pre-money valuation, as I mentioned, and this is valuation. And you also have, and this class is called Aunt Hilda. All right, this is all about your Aunt Hilda. You have a pre-money valuation, as we stated before, of $10,000. Aunt Hilda wants to invest $1,000. The first thing we need to do is we need to look at our pie and say, oh, this is great. We have currently 25% of the available stock in the company. We have 25% allocated for potential investors or employees. So that is what we call treasury stock. What percentage does Aunt Hilda have of her investment? What percentage of the company does she have now that she has given you $1,000? Well, we just did that math, and that you are correct. That is 9%. But let's make sure that we go over the steps, because there's a lot to this. Number one, we have to make sure that we are doing the valuation percentage correctly. So you're going to take the investment divided by, divided by the pre-money valuation. So here we go. You have 1,000 divided by 11,000. I'm sorry, pre-money. What the heck was I thinking? Post-money. Thank you for catching that. I know many of you were about ready to throw up your hands and say, what is going on? 11,000 gives us 9%. That 9% has now been solidified, and it is memorialized within your organization. So Aunt Hilda knows that she now has 9% of your company reflected here. And the remaining balance is 16%. This now 16% represents what you have left in treasury stock. And don't forget that you have 75% here. Yet again, we are at 100% of the pie. Now, you're raising money with Aunt Hilda. You need to be able to tell her, this is equity. This is an equity transaction. You need to be able to tell your Aunt Hilda, number two, how much per share. So you have to calculate the price per share that she has just gotten for her 9%. She needs to know. She has to calculate a capital gain. Let me tell you something. The IRS wants to know exactly how much they get to take of her capital gain when she exits. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the $11,000, that's the post money, and we are now going to divide that by the number of shares. Whoa, wait a minute. You're introducing a new wrinkle here. The number of shares, yes, my friends, yes. 100% of the equity. 100% of the equity means that you now need to talk to me or Aunt Hilda in a context that tells us how many shares there are so that we can calculate the price per share. And I'm going to tell you, please, when you incorporate your company, whether it be an LLC or an S-Corp, that you actually calculate and that you authorize the number of shares. Now, if it's a LLC, if it's an LLC or if it's an LLC, you're going to have units or interests. If it's an S Corp or a C Corp, we're really talking about shares, and that's what most people are familiar with. Either way, whether in shares, units, and interests, essentially it's semantics. They are the same thing. Okay? Now, I want you to authorize 1 million shares or 1 million units. Okay? 1 million shares or 1 million units. This, and I'll explain this in the next session, but go with me right now with 1 million shares. So here we have the post-money valuation, which we know is $11,000 divided by 1 million shares. What does that come up to? The math is fairly simple, and you're going to come up with essentially 0.011 cents per share. And this is the second step in determining not only valuation or percentage, but determining how much your investor is going to have. What is it that they have given $1,000. What is it that they're getting? Well, so far, your Aunt Hilda knows that she has gotten 9%, and that her price per share, my friends, is a little over 1 cent per share. That is, you can call this her cost basis. Her cost basis right there. Okay, now number 3. We now need to figure out how many shares is your Aunt Hilda going to get? How many shares does she have? How many shares does she have? Okay, whoops, there we go. How many shares does she have? Well, this is a fairly simple process also. We now know that there are 1 million shares. 1 million shares. And I'm going to put shares right here. 1 million shares, and we're going to divide that. Oh, no, I'm sorry. We're going to multiply that times 0.09, the 9%, correct? And that's going to give her 90,000 shares. This is how many shares she owns of your company now, or units. And now she can go back home, she can record this, and she at any given point will know exactly how many shares she has, what percentage equity she has of your company, and in addition to that, her cost basis. But we're not done yet because we need to make sure that we check our math. Let's confirm the calculus. Let's confirm the calculus. So essentially what we're going to do is we're going to take 90,000 shares. So you're going to take the number of shares Aunt Hilda owns, which is 90,000. And you're going to multiply that, 90,000 shares, and you're going to multiply that times the price per share, which is 0.011 cents. That should give you $999.99, basically. Thus, her investment here should be the same as here. So we round that up. So she's off a penny. We're off a penny. But that, if it's 0.01111, you're going to come up with $1,000, right? So this gives you the step-by-step process of how to calculate real valuation. And if you tell people that your valuation on your company is, say, $100,000, you had better qualify. You had better qualify, my friends, whether or not that is a pre-money or post-money valuation. If they have told you the amount of money that they want to invest, then you can go ahead and add it right there in your head and tell them that is going to be the post-money valuation. You have $100,000, somebody wants to, $100,000 pre-money valuation, somebody wants to invest $1,000, your post-money is $101,000. Let's go on ahead and move forward with that particular example. Let's say that Aunt Hilda wants to invest yet again, and we call this again because she is a friend and family. This is your seed round. Don't forget, this is your seed round. And Aunt Hilda wants to invest yet again $1,000. She loves you. She wants to make sure that you have all of the money that you need to grow. And you tell her, well, Aunt Hilda, you know, the money that you gave me really, boy, it did wonders. This is amazing. I can't believe how important this, I can't tell you how important it was that you gave me this money, because guess what? The pie has expanded, and she's going to say, "Oh, mijo, that's amazing." Mijo is son in Spanish. "Oh, mijo, that's amazing. I'm so proud of you." And you're going to say, "Well, thank you." And she says, "Well, here's another $1,000. Can I get another 9% of your company? And you're going to go, oh, no, Tia Hilda, oh, no, I'm sorry. But the money that you gave me, as I mentioned, the pie has expanded and the value of this company is now $100,000. Wow, $100,000. And you're going to say yes, and that represents the entire equity of the company. And she's going to say, wow, well, this is pretty amazing. And I know that you've given me 9%. I'll still give you the $1,000, but can you tell me how much equity I am going to own in the form of a percentage now that I have given you this $1,000? You're going to say, oh, absolutely, Aunt Hilda, absolutely. We first have to talk about our pre-money valuation, which was $100,000, right? And you have given me another $1,000. And so we now have a PostMoney valuation of $101,000. $101,000. So what percentage is 1,000 of 101? What percentage is 1,000 of 101? And it is not quite, my friends, 1%. It is slightly less than 1%. And this percentage, so if you take 1,000 divided by 101,000, you're going to get 0.009, almost 1%. Almost 1%, my friends, 0.009. And that's going to be how much she owns. And she's going to say, wow, that's less than 1% by a tenth. I don't even have 1%, yet I had 9% before. And you're going to say, yeah, that's true, Aunt Hilda. And she's going to say, well, can you tell me exactly what my price per share will be? And you're going to say, yes, let's go back to our original equation and let's take our post-money valuation, okay, which is in this case now instead of 11,000, it's 101,000. And you're going to take 101,000 divided by 1 million. 1 million. Goodness gracious, what am I talking about? You're going to take 101,000 divided by, the number of shares, 1 million shares, right? So I was right. What am I thinking? 1 million shares. And this is going to give you the price per share. And essentially, we're going to round this up. And now, the cost is roughly 10 cents a share. And she's going to say, wait a minute. I paid a little more than 1 cent. I paid a little more than 1 cent a share before, and now you're telling me that I'm paying 10 cents? What the heck? And you're going to say, oh, but wait, Aunt Hilda. You have essentially increased the value of your investment by almost 10 times. Oh boy. So my $1,000 original investment on paper is worth roughly $10,000? Yes, that's right. That's absolutely correct. Well, I had 90,000 shares before. How many shares do I have now? And you're going to say, well, that's pretty simple. You're going to take you're going to take 1 million shares, because we still have 1 million shares, times the percentage that she has. So you take 1 million shares times 0.009 is going to give you roughly 9,000 shares. So this is the new math. This is the new math. You might just round it up to, you know, she's your Aunt Hilda. You might round it up to 10,000. But we're being very technical. We're being very technical at this point. And then you have to go back. Let's go back to confirm the calculus. So you're going to take the number of shares that she owns. You're going to take the number of shares, which is 9,000, times the price per share. And that, my friends, is going to give you how much she invested, right? Which should come up to roughly $1,000. This is how not only you determine what the pre and post money valuation are, and you need to understand the distinction between the two, but it gives you the step-by-step process of how to calculate the percentage, how to calculate the price per share, the number of shares, and you then check your math to make sure that when you memorialize this, that you have the exact number of shares, the price, and everything. So that way there are no mistakes downstream. And what you hope is that this new investment, this new $1,000 that Aunt Hilda is giving you, is going to take you to $1 million in valuation. And that might not seem too realistic, but the reality of it is when you bring on additional capital, the use of those proceeds should expand the pie so that the valuation of the company increases to a point that it actually increases the value by much more than the percentage that you gave up. So let's take a look here at what this now looks like. So here essentially what we have, and I'm just going to round it up to 1%. You have given Aunt Hilda 1%, and now you have 15% remaining in treasury stock. I'm Aram Chavez. Now we're cooking with gas. Contact me if you have any questions, any comments. Would love to hear from you. I hope to hear from you soon. Talk to you later.